Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
3, 2, 1, and we're back. And today is day 2. And thank you for all the really wonderful comments on our show this week. We are talking with you about how to make at least $100,000 in the next 100 days. And so remember, guys, ultimately, this plan is going to require you doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level, but you can do it. Your mindset is going to be of being of service to other people and focusing on, for the next 90 days, accomplishing the goal. Now, some of you, and what we're focusing on today, are the specifics of the numbers. So we're going to help you break down exactly what you need to be doing every single day, and we're going to give you some suggested lead sources that will get you frankly, the results the quickest. All of our plans and our primary focus of our coaching business. Now, obviously, we teach you guys how to build teams and market and, social media and all that other stuff. But we also primarily want to focus on listings. That is really the heart and soul of a real estate business. It is the way that you're going to get the most leverage in real estate. It's the way you're going to have the most freedom, the most consistent cash flow is being a listing agent. And there's a huge demand right now for listing agents with skills, as many of you are learning in the marketplace, because all the rules have changed. Effectively, 24 months ago, that rule book got tossed into the fireplace, and the new rules emerge. Some of you have yet to discover the new rule book. Hopefully you're discovering it listening to this podcast. So Julie, let's jump right back in where we left off yesterday.
That's right. So this is the plan. How are you going to get to the goal? The goal is $100,000 in income to you in the next 100 days. We talked yesterday about, based on the average sale price in the country, that's going to take you 8 listings. Why 8 listings? Because the listings will generate buyers and other listings. So if you want to drill down on the specific goal, it's to get and sell 8 listings over the next 100 days or less.
But if you're listening to this and you didn't listen to yesterday's show, just so that you're going to be able to get a lot of benefit, the assumption was that the average sale price in the United States is $400,000. The average commission in the United States is $12,000. I know it's going to be up or down, adjust accordingly. And 8 times 12,000 is going to equal roughly $100,000. That's the premise that we're working off of, and we're making that assumption. Now, if you're in a marketplace where, like Julie's got coaching clients whose average sale price is over $1 million, and they're making an average of $30,000 per sale.
Adjust accordingly.
Adjust accordingly, right.
And on the other end of the spectrum, too, there's some listeners, maybe it's going to take you 12 or 15 listings, but that's okay. The point is to have a specific goal. So we're using 8 because we have to use something, and we used it based on the average that all of you are dealing with. Okay, so how are you going to go about doing it? This is where you take notes. You can scan down and get our notes right in front of you, but a lot of you guys like to write it down. So
should we listeners, this is really important. Why are we exposing some of you, or in many cases reminding you of the same primary lead sources that we want you to focus on? Because that is where the most urgent business is going to be found. We do talk about in Premier Coaching the passive lead generation, but you're going to find the consistency of cash flow and all the other things that come with consistent cash flow from focusing primarily on being a proactive lead generator and then reinforcing the proactive lead generation with your passive lead generation. And I'll just give an example before Julie gets to her first point, is that, for example, you're going to call your centers of influence and past clients. Now, if you want to enhance that, maybe you mail them. Maybe you mail them a newsletter. We've had lots of coaching clients who have had a lot of success with that. Maybe what you do is you load them, you get all their contact information, obviously, and you put them in a Facebook campaign. And those people that are your centers of influence and past clients are also getting daily videos or weekly updates from you about what's going on in the market. Just those people that are in your list are going to be exposed. So but you cannot just do the passive stuff expecting to get the results that our statistics say you will, unless you're doing the proactive stuff. And if you have to choose, dear listener, between making the phone call and having the conversation that we teach you how to have in Premier Coaching, or doing the digital media, the social marketing, and all the rest of social media marketing, all the rest of it, do the phone call. It's going to get you the result the fastest.
And cost you nothing. Okay, so that leads us to our number 1 lead source. We're going to do 6 today, and we're going to do 6 tomorrow. So point number one is number one for a reason. You all have them. Your past clients and sphere of influence or center of influence, otherwise known as your database. Statistically, when you have regular and real conversations with your list, 10% of your list will either do business with you or refer business to you each and every year. What would happen if you committed to speaking with 100% of the people in your database this quarter? Don't get mad when another agent lists your past client if you're not making this effort.
It's average of 10%, because if you're in a marketplace where the homes are primarily people that never sell, I mean, look in your MLS for statistics, you're not going to get a 10%, and that's where your center of influence past client is. I mean, like where you grew up, frankly, Julie, those people never move. I mean, ever. Okay, they're in those houses for
the
decades.
Same neighbors.
Right. Now, but if you're in another area like Austin or something, and you're focusing on some downtown, condos where people are younger and their family formation age, they're in their late 20s, early 30s, well, you're going to get a lot more sales velocity out of those markets. So again, you got to adjust accordingly. The way you can lean into the facts is learning how to use your MLS. Choose your centers of influence and past clients. That happens sort of organically, but you might find yourself in a marketplace where there isn't a lot of, frankly, sales momentum, where there are not a lot of sellers, where there isn't a lot of opportunity. So what should you do? I respectfully would suggest that you might move, or frankly, you're going to have to, it's going to be a lot harder for you to build momentum in real estate.
You're going to have to expand your horizons. This is something that we work with our elite coaching clients on a lot, because we have to drill down and get to know them and know their market a bit. And it's okay. They can expand what they're doing. They can join different memberships, organizations, upgrade their friends list. You know what I'm saying?
Well, when Julie and I were selling real estate, we did not like our average sale price because it was the average sale price of Columbus, Ohio. And we knew that if we were willing to travel a half hour, 45 minutes away, we can have an average sale price that was at least 4 and sometimes 6x more, over $1 million.
Yes.
So it took us 3 or 4 years, and we got tired of beating our heads against the wall. We had to sell hundreds of houses to make the amount of money that we wanted to make every year to accomplish our goals. Or we could sell less than 100 houses in this other market.
Yes.
Duh. So that's what we did. And you just took out a new elite coaching client.
Yes. So shout out to Jennifer Wells in Hilton Head. If you guys have any business coming or going there, she's your girl. So what Jennifer is going to be working on, lots of different things, but one of them is what we're talking about now, because she didn't grow up in Hilton Head. She moved there from somewhere else. That's another thing about building this. So what are we going to do? Systematically build her center of influence in several parts of town based on the different movement, because part of, typical resort town, she's going to have some people that are buying VRBOs and such, and other people that are locals that she's going to know. She's already doing a women's club, things of that nature.
But in Hilton Head, she has 2 things. An average sale price that's really nice.
Which is killer.
Number one. And number 2, there's density.
Yes.
So if you're selling homes in rural somewhere, United States, and there's not a lot of sales velocity, not a lot of homes buying and selling, you are going to have a harder time. And in those few cases, if you're serious about being successful in real estate, you're going to have to probably focus on a different market. I don't know if there's any other way to say it.
That's true. You have to expand your center of influence on purpose, not by mistake. And you have to actually know your stats. What's hot and what's not. Your MLS hot sheet pumps that out to you every single day. Many of you don't look at that because it's in your spam, but it's a great tool. There's another one called List Reports that tells you what's hot and what's not. So, for example, where I grew up, 43085, I bet you there's maybe 6 listings there.
We grew up there, Julie.
Maybe 6 or 8 listings at any given time.
We met in high school, listeners.
Yes.
We did.
Okay, but to your point, nobody ever moves.
Right.
And so I feel sorry for agents that my mom and dad still show me stuff that they get plastered with postcards. They do. But it doesn't matter because nobody's ever going to move from there.
Well, so for example, Jennifer in Hilton Head, you're helping her to expand her center of influence past clients.
Yes.
She chose that market. You told me about this prior to today's show.
Yep.
She chose that market intentionally because of the sale price, because she was smart enough to check sales velocity, because she liked the market because the weather and the climate,
right.
all the things, all the boxes checked that she was after,
That's right.
all the things.
Smart strategy.
Right, exactly, 100%. So what you're going to do is you're going to help her intentionally be her doing what she likes to do around other people that like to do the same thing, and thus you'll organically, naturally, almost by accident, start creating leads.
More organic leads, which, by the way, don't have a referral fee attached to them.
For example,
don't have a cost to them.
The gym, doing things like that. doing things that you being you around other people that have the same interests, you will easily build your center of influence and past clients.
And those are the best, right?
They are, completely.
Absolutely. So talking about your past clients, center of influence, your database, again, the 10% rule should work for you. We do have a lot of coaching clients that get well more than 10% from their database because they're doing all of the things starting with and not ending with making the actual contacts.
They'll do past client center of influence, social events. They will do sometimes direct mail. A lot of them do monthly newsletters.
That's right. They do past client events and things like that. But certainly they use the scripts that they get as part of coaching, as well as another thing that we don't talk about enough in coaching is the 12-month Center of Influence plan. All of that is included. That talks about, what do you say month by month out of the year? What are some good events for you to be putting on that don't cost you very much money? All of that's part of Premier.
So remember, like every day, the show notes are below. Scroll below. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, does not matter what platform you're on, even YouTube, or you're over on our main website, Tim and Julie Harris. Scroll down. Our notes are there. You can read along with us. And also, when you're there, click the link to join Premier Coaching. It's obvious. It's easy to find. It's the next natural step for all of your real estate businesses. If you're serious about being massively successful because of this market, scroll down, click the link, join Premier Coaching. It costs you absolutely nothing. And yes, it does include a daily semi-private coaching call with one of our Harris certified coaches.
Okay, staying on this point just for a second. For example, how many people in your database know what their home is worth in today's market?
These are ideas of what to talk about.
Exactly. It's your job to let them know. If they knew that they could get X for their home, netting them Y, well, what would that do to their plans? I'll give you a quick example, okay? One of my coaching clients went door knocking. In her neighborhood, that's her center of influence, right? People who already know her. She's very active in her community, hit 7 doors. One of them was an older couple who hadn't been particularly thinking about real estate. She was using a similar script as this. Were you aware of what your home is probably worth in today's market? Well, no, why don't you, do a market analysis for us? She came back, told them that they would potentially net $500,000. They could not believe it. She had to explain it 3 or 4 times for them to actually buy into the math that was based on the CMA. Now they're considering being her next listing. So how many people in your database have no clue what their house is worth? I know you and I we look at the rentals going, are you kidding me? Right?
Well, I mean,
so
you're meandering off into another conversation that we should probably have on a podcast.
Yep.
And maybe even have some guests on. We certainly know a lot of, economist types.
Sure.
Logan, we maybe should have this conversation with him. Like, again, it goes back to, I'm thinking about predictions. What's going to happen to the real estate market, especially for the next 24 months? I'll give you the bottom line. We believe, and there's every reason to believe, that the real estate market is going to go from what it is to something that is probably feels like a bigger boom than we've ever experienced before. If interest rates just tick down even marginally, you're going to see the market explode. There's so many fence-sitting sellers that are looking for an opportunity. And as soon as, guys, that's it. That's what's keeping more sellers from coming on the market. People think that they're locked in because they're low interest rate. They don't really care. Most of the sellers have massive equity in their homes or have no mortgage whatsoever. They want a place to move to. When more homes come for sale, there's a huge pent-up, really, I don't even know if the word's demand, but there's huge pent-up desire for people to sell their home, and they need to have a place to go. And as soon as one listing comes for sale, another, it's going to be dominoes. They're going to be stacked and start falling faster than we've ever experienced before. And we're seeing everything set itself up. All of the major markets that Julie and I follow, we're seeing the market set itself up for something that many of you, if you've only been in the business for 2 or 3 years, have never experienced before. Get ready.
That's right. And I can't let a podcast slide without mentioning number 2, one of our favorite categories, expired listings. Expireds are near the top of the list because of the following. First, they clearly want to sell, and many have to sell. These are the listings you're looking for. There's been a big increase in expireds recently since most agents still had 2 short listing agreements in anticipation of the hot sellers market continuing. Aspirational pricing, that's otherwise known as being overpriced, and competition from new construction have created even more expired and withdrawn listings. Next reason, you know what probably the wrong price is. Your comparative market analysis is much easier on an expired listing because the price has been market tested. Next, the agent you would have competed against, the one that they thought would get the job done, who they probably already knew, is now probably out of the picture. And last but not least, and there's many reasons, but these are the top ones, the seller will correct negative feedback and reprice the home in most cases, creating a quick sale. The average number of days on the market for relisted expireds is always very low. So bonus, don't forget old and older expired listings because you'll have less competition and are more likely to get the seller the price they wanted in the first place.
Advanced coaching, we've done many podcasts where we talk about expireds. Guys, listen, don't assume an expired is overpriced. It might not be. It might be priced correctly, but for reasons that you will discover once you take the listing. Maybe the seller was uncooperative before. Maybe who knows? There's all kinds of reasons.
We did a podcast, I think it was called Top Expired Secrets.
There you go. So don't assume that pricing was the problem, because you'll discover in a market like this that pricing probably wasn't the problem. And it could just be because the listing was old. It was like spoiled milk in the cooler. No one's going to buy it. And that is sometimes what happens. You put a fresh MLS number, fresh description, fresh pictures, and the thing sells like hotcakes, like it never was listed before at all.
See it all the time.
Yeah, we do.
Absolutely. So point number 3, new build salespeople. Another favorite category because this costs you absolutely nothing. These are the salespeople who sit in the builders' model homes, and those are cropping up everywhere. They're coming up like weeds. Okay, so visit the salespeople who sit in the builders' model homes. Those are the people who write up all those new construction contracts. Use our new construction plan if you're a Premier Coaching member to meet those new build reps and get all of their resale referrals.
Okay, what are we talking about? No, 99.9%, especially big builder, new build reps, maybe they have a real estate license, but they don't take any business outside of the new construction they're selling on behalf of the builder. Again, the biggest builders actually mandate that the sales reps cannot do any outside business. You can imagine the conflicts that would create if they could.
That's right.
So you walk in there, and in most places, the average sale price for new construction is going to be in a move-up price range. You then ask the new build rep, what are you doing with all, obviously you have, how many houses do you have pending under construction? 30, 50, 100, 300. Okay, that's great. How many of those buyers actually have homes to sell? It's going to be, depending on the price point, all of them. What are they doing with those listing referrals? What are they doing with that? I know what they're doing. Do you, dear listener? They're referring those to listing agents. They're referring those to other agents. Mostly, they're referring them to the agents that actually brought the buyers to them in the first place, and they're repaying the favor. That's how a lot of this works. Mm-hmm. It's just very one hand washing the other. And, you can do the same thing. We have had many coaching clients in these marketplaces where there's lots of new construction. I'm thinking Arizona. Everywhere.
I think almost all the coaches have these relationships.
Yeah,
too.
you can clean up off new construction. And new construction is going to be the Hail Mary pass for housing, which is going to surprise everybody in most major markets.
It's already 31% of what's available.
There you go.
Okay, so for example, another reason I love this, for example, is that you can have one new build sales rep that you have this worked out with, and they are a constant supply of multiple transactions for you. What if you had 5 new build sales reps that were doing the same thing in different price ranges or areas, right? So you can see how it's infinitely expandable.
Do you have things like probate and whatnot on the list?
I think it's on tomorrow's show.
Okay,
yes.
Good. So just a little foreshadowing. We'll talk about probate.
Same idea, though. One relationship, a probate attorney, for example, multiple transactions. We like that.
Exactly.
And remember, all you need to make $100,000 in 100 days is 8 listings.
Adjust accordingly, because you might not even need that many. Number 4, yes. Julie.
Okay. A close cousin to expireds would be the for sale by owners. When the market is hot like it's been for so long, there are always plenty of unrepresented owners who need your help. Most of them give up on the process if it's not sold in the first 2 weekends. There are luxury-priced, unrepresented owners in today's market as well. This is a great opportunity because many of them have not yet bought 2 transactions there. They could build with you or downsize or upsize and purchase with you. So there's at least 2 transactions with many for sale by owners, plus you could sell it yourself, hold open houses, et cetera, et cetera.
And do yourself a favor, when you're discovering the for sale by owners, make sure you go and research them. Just drop their address in Google. It's the quickest and easiest way of doing it. Mm-hmm. And you will notice that in many cases, in many markets, they were previously listed. The listing expired.
Yep.
They didn't know another agent, so they just decided to for sale by owner it. You will find overlapping, opportunities here. You're just going to have to do a little bit of homework.
Absolutely. Okay, point number 5. Open houses. Yes, that's right. Refer to our podcast, How to Not Just Sit in Open House, How to Monetize Them. We've done several open house podcasts. Our open house system and scripts are proven to generate a bare minimum of 3 closable buyers or sellers every time. It's all about choosing the right house, promoting the open house, using good scripts, and having relentless lead follow-up. Many of our coaching clients have spun this source up to a very predictable listing machine. If you've failed at open houses before or just been frustrated with them, you are missing a key element or elements to the system to make it work. I've seen this with so many coaching clients where they dabbled in open houses, they tried one out, they borrowed another agent's, and they just didn't get anything from it. You're not doing it right. You're not doing it systematically. You're not using scripts. You're not using enough signs. You're not looking at it as the source of business that it can be.
The two biggest errors they make is they're not holding the right house open.
Right.
That's the biggest one.
Huge.
Number two, they are, while doing the open house, not following our open house system. They're hiding out, avoiding having direct conversations with actual humans that are actually coming into the house that might actually be, ready to buy, let alone a neighbor that's thinking about putting their house for sale. And you guys, let me know if you need anything.
Or they sit on the couch watching football. And you've seen that.
We've walked into open houses before, and if you guys are committing this sin, okay, stop it. You'll hear this ghostly voice from someplace in the house. Welcome. Let me know if you need anything. And they'll go back to TikToking wherever the hell they're doing.
There's cookies in the kitchen.
There's cookies. That's right. Exactly. Don't be that agent.
No. And then open houses don't work. No, you're not working. There's a difference, right? They can be so killer, Many of our coaching clients have turned this into a multiple step system where they'll do like the neighbors open first and then they'll do a public open second.
What is Julie talking about? So the first thing you're going to do before you do an open house, this is part of our open house system, is you're going to go and door knock and give an invitation. Could be a flyer. It doesn't have to be anything fancy.
It's a contact.
It's a contact, right, to all the neighbors and do a big, some of you call this circle prospecting. What we're suggesting is you knock, knock, knock. Hello, my name is Tim. Letting you know that I'm holding 123 Elm Street open. And we're doing a neighbors-only open house, and we're doing this so that you can actually go through the house and see if that neighbor happens to have anything that's yours. No, that's a joke.
They'll laugh.
Look in the garage, see if the weed whacker that you thought somehow magically disappeared happens to be at the. No, you guys get it. I'm trying to make you laugh. Yeah. But yes, it's a neighbors-only open house. We're going to be doing it from 11 till noon or from 10 till noon or whatever. Come by. So what is that going to do? It's the people that are coming by then, will be the neighbors. And why would the neighbors come by to see the house that's for sale? Because they're curious about home values, to which you then could follow up with a conversation about providing them with the CMA. There is sometimes, like for every 10 people who are going to ask for a CMA, someone who's stone cold not interested in selling is not going to care what their home's value is. And they're not going to ask you for a CMA because they're not going to want to have that. They're not going to want to take the time to talk with you, frankly. They're not going to want to take the time of finding themselves in a sales conversation. So if they're not at least mildly interested in putting their house for sale sometime in the future, they're not going to ask for a CMA. So people that are asking for CMAs, face-to-face, not through some digital forum, they're serious. So when someone asks for a CMA, there's a script that goes along with it. The third question is, provided the numbers make sense, and provided the numbers make sense, Mr. Seller, ideally, how soon would you want to sell the property? Go right to the assumption that they're thinking about selling, and that's the reason they're asking for the CMA. Don't ask if they're thinking about selling the house, because here's what's going to happen. Many of you will avoid asking questions that might result in any kind of conflict with the seller. So you're going to have to follow our scripts and your perceived conflict with the seller, right? Mm-hmm. Remember what I told you, they're asking for a CMA. They're probably at least 40% interested in selling their home. So when you ask the question, like, okay, knock, 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 hello, I just want to let you know I'm doing open house at 123 Elm Street, and it's a neighbors only open house. We're going to be doing it for 2 hours prior to the public open house. Just letting you know that you can pop by. And also, would you like me to prepare a CMA, a comparative market analysis, letting you know what your home is worth in this market? And most of them, like I said, will say no. Some of them will say yes, and then just review with them. Okay, great. So is it a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath? Get the gist of it. Maybe they're going to have you walk through. Oh boy, that's an actual seller.
That does happen, by the way.
Of course it does. All the time. You're going to now discover you've actually, tripped over an actual seller. Go you. And then you're going to ask, you're not going to beat around the bush and hopefully find things in common. You have a dog, I have a dog. You have feet, I have feet. Don't waste time doing stuff like that. So many of you do this fake bonding. Everybody hates it. Ask the question, ideally, Mr. Seller, if the numbers make sense, how soon would you want this property sold? And do not allow yourself to have your jaw drop out of your head when they tell you we're thinking about putting it for sale now.
Well, if you're a Premier Coaching member, you're going to say, give me just 1 second. I got something to get out of my trunk. You know what you're getting? Your pre-listing package, because you have been coachable. The coach has told you to make sure that you are ready when you're in these situations. You have your pre-listing package in hand. You are ready to rumble. Yes, it is on the spot listing presentation. Maybe you have a 2-step where you have to circle back and drill down on the price a little bit more. That's okay. But don't be blindsided and, like Tim said, let your jaw drop.
I was going to say, don't pee in your pants, but I thought
don't leave a puddle.
Yeah, don't leave a puddle. I mean, that's what we'd say if it was on a private coaching call, frankly. But
yes,
now that we're on a podcast, we shouldn't,
we shouldn't do that.
Talk about urination.
Exactly, which brings us
to
point number 6.
It'll offend somebody.
Somebody. They're typing like that mad cat
We're going to get a
meme.
comment right now. I cannot believe Tim and Julie were
making
making fun of people who pee when they get excited. I mean, somebody's going to say that.
Cut it out.
Don't say it.
Don't do it.
We are just joking.
Joking. Funny. Okay, point number 6.
Maybe it wasn't funny.
Maybe it wasn't. We'll find out. We'll find out. Exactly. Right. Okay, point number 6. For rent by owners. Now, I love this category because almost nobody contacts them. You have nearly zero competition, and yet there's a phone number right there. Okay? So investors who own single-family or small multifamily units are an amazing source of new listings for you.
You should toss VRBOs in there too.
Including VRBOs. Good point. This is one of the easiest scripts to learn and polish because it's a simple business conversation. And yes, of course, you have those scripts in Premier. If the home is vacant and for rent, might the owner rather sell it versus continue to keep it as a rental? It's a simple question. Offer to do a free comparative market analysis so they can make an educated decision and see what that does to their plans. Again, potentially one contact and multiple transactions with investors.
Let's add color to this. Okay, so if someone's purchased in the last 24 months, chances are the interest rate is not that great. Chances are some of them will have bought on variable rate mortgages. That means that some of these guys are looking down into the future and realizing that the payment on this property that they bought as a rental or a short-term rental is negating the financial benefit of having the property in the first place in their minds. Maybe some of them are having to literally go out of pocket every single month beyond what the cash flow is on that property, and they're losing money on it. Maybe they can't afford to lose money on it. That is going to be a great opportunity to sell that house. To tee them up to basically say, well, and again, if they've owned it for 24 months or whatever, they're going to have double-digit appreciation from the inflation on that property. They're going to walk away as, real estate lottery winners no matter how you shake it unless they refinanced and pulled the money out.
Yep.
So don't be surprised when you find urgency in people that don't even actively have their homes for sale because you're giving them the opportunity to have a graceful exit, walk away with, in many cases, a big check, and you're making it very seamless for them. This is called doing the real work of real estate.
That's right. And you mentioned VRBOs, Vacation Rental by Owner, for those of you who might not be familiar with that. VRBOs.
Who's that?
I had 2 or 3 people say they're mostly new licensees that just haven't been in the real estate world. Also known as Home Away is another one. There's several different sites. These are short-term vacation rentals. Now, these are also a great source to be prospecting with this for rent by owner script, slightly modified for VRBO short term. Why? Because a lot of those were purchased in COVID, and the amount of them that exist who are now competing with each other, especially in resort markets where most of these live.
It's ferocious.
It's ferocious. And on top of that, many of the areas and or buildings, like if you're in downtown Austin, for example, have now passed, or their HOAs have passed things saying, oh, no, you can't do short-term rentals. It has to be at least 30 days, at least 90 days, at least 6 months. And if we find out, we're going to fine you. We're going to do this, that, and the other. And it didn't work out for that owner the way they had planned.
So point is, opportunity is everywhere. You just have to have conversations and stop waiting around for people to raise their hand and say, come list my house, Bob. You've got to go to them and tell them the different opportunities they have to sell the property, and you will create your own reality as a listing agent. Take all of these things incredibly seriously. Now, did you notice everything that Julie and I always tell you? Everything's proactive. Everything's going to require you actually making an effort. We're not going to lie to you and tell you that you don't have to make an effort, because you do.
100,000 in 100 days. It's going to take a little bit of work,
well,
right?
I mean, I'm thinking, like, for example, 100,000 in 100 days, if your average sale price is only 400 grand, and I get it, we have tens of thousands of listeners, so that probably shakes out to be the average. But we do have coaching clients where the average sale price is over $1 million.
Absolutely.
And if they stuck to the 8 units that hopefully they're going to stick to, they're going to make 240,000 in the next 90 days.
But if you look at when we did 6 ways to do it today, we'll do 6 tomorrow. You can take any one of these and get 8 listings from
That's
them.
important that we make that distinction. We're not suggesting that you do all of these. So those of you who are furiously writing down, this is what I'm going to do in the next 100 days. Nope. We're telling you primarily, and hopefully I touched on this. If you guys asked Julie and I, Tim and Julie, you had to get back into selling real estate, what would you do? Number 1, we'd sell real estate where the average sale price was very high. Number 2, we'd sell the real estate, honestly, in a market where most of the agents did not know how to do proactive lead generation, and they were all leaning into passive lead generation. Number 3, we work centers of influence, past clients, and we definitely work expireds, because those are the 2 most lucrative opportunities to become a listing agent urgently. We would not buy buyer leads. We would not spend any money on marketing and branding. Again, getting started in real estate, maybe down the road, we'd worry more about that. But guess what? The marketing and branding happens for you as you become a successful listing agent. Everybody knows your name without you spending a nickel trying to get people to know your name. Aha, epiphany for at least one of you.
Well, yes. And remember, too, the mission here on this podcast series is to help you figure out how to make $100,000 in 100 days, right? So you don't need to do all of the speculative things. It's 100,000 in 100 days. This is as urgently as possible. That's why these things are on the list and other things are not, is because we're trying to get maximum dollars in your pocket in minimum time.
That's right. So guys, listen, get to work. We're going to finish up tomorrow with 6 more, though I think today we gave them 8.
Probably.
6 more ways to generate leads, generate listings, and generate cash flow for you over the next 100 days with the goal of setting or selling at least 8 listings in the next 100 days. But again, hopefully you're realizing that this plan, if you follow through and even 10% of what we're giving you, will generate a hell of a lot more than 8 transactions, especially in this market. Realistically, double that. Your effort is going to be the thing that's going to determine your outcome. In the meantime, guys, thank you for keeping this #1 Listen to daily podcast for real estate professionals in at least the United States. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.